Welcome to the podcast, Garman and Raptor Lord. This is halftime between the Bills and the Patriots. It's been a rough game, 27-3 at halftime. We're going to be covering different topics. Let's get into it. John Lester retired this week. So I'm going to bring up the career stats. Now, when I saw John Lester retire, I thought he was going to be surefire Hall of Famer. What did you think?
Definitely. I was thinking he'd be a Hall of Famer, just because my memory of him was that he was a very good pitcher. His postseason were very good. I don't remember. I remember maybe one game where he wasn't that good in the postseason start.
Yeah, I mean, he was such a key factor in the 2007-2013 years for the Red Sox.
Absolutely.
I think that if anything, he should be in the Hall of Fame because of those performances. And then he had another performance outside the organization in 2016 in the playoffs that was also fantastic. His career postseason stats are 2.51 ERA in the postseason, which is insane. He was a 5-time All-Star, 3-time World Series champion. And, I mean, calling it quits after 16 years, that's understandable. You have anything else to add?
Well, one thing, I was looking at his stats. He had 9 seasons in the top 10 of pitchers for games started.
Yep.
So he was a pitcher that made his starts. He had like 32 starts, or at least 30 starts in most of his seasons. I think when I looked at it, there was like 12 starts or something.
Yep, that's what I counted right now. There's 12 that he went through that
So
were
12,
30 plus
12,
starts.
12 seasons where he had 30 plus starts.
It's pretty awesome for a modern day pitcher.
Yeah, I mean, how many pitchers do you know make 30 starts?
Rarely any these days, you know. That most of them do like maybe 20.
Yeah, I mean, I remember people always saying, "Oh, he's a horse." And the other thing is complete games. He had 6 seasons where he was in the top 10 for complete games. So, when I first look at the stats, I'm like, geez, I don't know if he's really gonna be Hall of Fame. But he had a really good career. 3-time world champion. And he was a pitcher that you could rely on, in his career. How many times have we had pitchers that they get these massive contracts, and then you get into year 2 or 3, and the guy is terrible?
Absolutely. That'll bring us up to, I mean, the other pitcher that we're thinking of is, David Price, who he got a massive contract. Like, the Red Sox didn't pay Lester after 2013, which was absolutely ludicrous, and then they go out a couple years later and pick up David Price. And then he ended up being such a bad fit in our system that we ended up having to trade Mookie Betts, who was a cornerstone of our offense, in order to get rid of his contract. And we still had to pay $10 million to the Dodgers to take it.
Yeah, I mean, Mookie was going for the money, and Dodgers were paying him more. And so we were losing Mookie anyways. They did us a favor by taking Price.
Yes.
And they could have had Lester, but they lowballed him, and with like a $90 million offer, and he ended up getting like $25 million a year, which was actually pretty much in line with what he should have gotten. If you think about it, for this, they got pretty good. The Cubs got a pretty good
deal
pitcher
for that.
for $25 million a year.
Yeah.
The average of his first contract.
Yeah, I think the years after 2013, he had a 2.46, 2.52, 2.35. I mean, this is all insane. Like, these numbers don't happen for most teams, and then he just popped off in 2016 and had a career year, and that's incredible that he was able to do that for another team in such a short period of time after being traded from the Red Sox.
Agreed.
So, another player that we're going to be discussing is Big Papi. Big Papi is on the Hall of Fame ballot for baseball. So, he's one of my all-time favorite players for the Red Sox. How about you, Dad?
Yeah, I mean, whenever I think of Big Papi, I think of 2004 and the year that the Red Sox finally broke the curse and won a World Series. And since then, they sort of haven't looked back.
Mm-hmm.
And Big Papi was a huge part of that team.
Yeah, Big Papi. I remember 2004. It was, you guys were trying to send us to bed during the World Series, and Big Papi hit a home run as we were almost in the bedroom, and we all rushed back out into the game room and ended up watching the rest of the game.
Yeah, I was not trying to put you to bed. There was somebody else.
It was Mom, for sure.
There was somebody else that was trying to put you to bed, and I was saying, let them stay up. And Big Papi had something to say about it.
Absolutely. So, he was also a Yankees killer. Anytime against the Yankees, he'd just pop out and demolish the Yankees. And that's one of the best things about him. As a Red Sox fan, you have to love anyone who can destroy the Yankees.
Yeah, and in particular, those players are particularly loved because if there's one team that we want to beat, it's the Yankees. Because it was so many years where the Yankees just dominated the Red Sox.
Yep. So he was here for the entire stretch of 2004, 2007, 2013. He won 3 World Series for the Red Sox.
He was champion 3 times. He was a 10-time All-Star, World Series MVP, 7-time Silver Slugger. I mean, this guy is definitely going to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. And I managed to find a little thing that showed what the votes are for the Hall of Fame. It's just a public survey of every person who voted in the Hall of Fame ballot this year. And it looks like he's definitely going to get in. He's at 83.9%. And all he needs is a 70% vote in order to get into the Hall of Fame. So that's it's very likely that he's going to make it.
It seems doable. I mean, and if you look at his career, I mean, he was definitely elite and dominated. He had 9 seasons in the top 10 for home runs and runs batted in. So he was a dominant hitter. I mean, offense, he was a great player for the Red Sox, and he just dominated.
And then his last year for the Red Sox was one of his best years. He led the league in slugging and on base percentage that year with an OPS of 1.021, which anything above 1 is outstanding, borderline historic. And he was over 1, not 1, but 2, 3, 4, 5 years. 5 years of his career, he was above 1 OPS.
It's unbelievable, and to think it was his feet that forced him into retirement. He had trouble with his feet. He was still able to hit.
Yeah.
And he just was forced out by his feet.
He led the league 3 years in intentional walks. Pitchers hated him. Okay? He absolutely demolished the league to the point where he led the league 3 times. And it was 2013, 2015, and 2016. So that's incredible.
Yeah, and he would have kept doing it if he could have solved this issue with his feet.
So I added a little YouTube video showing his swing. Just iconic. It's the same swing that is now being used for the Woo Sox. It was Ted Williams plus Big Papi was used for the smiley face. So that's always awesome that he's being already used for the minor league system for the Red Sox. Skip that. It's a bit late for this, but Patriots offensive and defensive keys, they just got back from half. I doubt that they're going to be coming back, but they needed to do much more on the running game, and it seemed like their receivers didn't catch open passes from Mac Jones today.
Yeah, there was some drop passes and definitely some missed opportunities. There was a nice pass. Would have been a touchdown to Aguilar, but the Bills' defense made an incredible play on it and intercepted it. But the defense just did not show up.
Yeah, the defense has been great all year, and now this game they seem to be just shit in the bed, to be honest. Like, they're just not doing well at all. They haven't made a single stop. 4 for 4, 300 yards of offense. 300 yards of offense is actually insane. That should be like an entire game worth of offense. And that was one half. Mac Jones just took a hit. They didn't call a penalty.
Oftentimes, that's what happens in the playoffs. They won't call a penalty in the playoffs. But it's really out of hand, this game. I don't think that the Pats can fix this.
So Judon and J.C. Jackson are both Pro Bowlers this year. Looking at this game, I think they might not.
Maybe they'll withdraw their Pro Bowl invitations.
Possibly. Judon didn't have contain on Josh Allen, I think, on 2 plays. And Josh Allen ended up scrambling for first downs both times. Mac Jones just threw an interception. That's an absolute shame. There's almost a 0% chance of a comeback now. That was just a great play by the defender there, though. They popped it up and...
Yeah, ball was tipped. I mean, Probably shouldn't have thrown that ball.
True, but
It was probably a bad choice.
okay. J.C. Jackson also hasn't had a stellar game either. There were a couple of plays where Stephon Diggs got away with a couple catches that were defendable by J.C. Jackson.
There's nobody on the defense that has really done anything that, to help turn this thing around. It's just a mess. So, I mean, if you want, let's talk about Mac Jones and his rookie year. I mean,
Yeah.
there's some positives. I mean, right now it doesn't feel like
Right. Yeah.
a lot of
So,
positives.
unfortunately, this game is not showing the best of Mac Jones. I'm going to give him a B+ this year. B+ is because he was able to manage games well. He wasn't the best player on offense, but he had good command of the system, and they had a 7-game win streak after a slow start. But the cons were his arm strength, and we weren't sure how he was going to play in cold weather. Today is an example. He currently has 2 interceptions, so
No touchdowns.
no touchdowns. So it will be this plus the last 5 weeks is 6 to 7 touchdown to interception ratio.
Well, unfortunately, usually the Patriots play their best as the season goes on, and late in the season they play their best games. What we're seeing tonight is sort of what a trend that has started over the last few games, where they have not played very well, and I'm not sure why, but it's just it's a disappointing end to the season. But when I was looking at Mac Jones' stats, in terms of passing yards for the season, 3,800 yards passing in the regular season puts him at 13 for among quarterbacks in the NFL. So for a rookie quarterback, I think that's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
7.3 yards per attempt average, which was pretty much competitive with other quarterbacks in the league. His completion percentage, 67%. And you're thinking, this is a rookie now.
Mm-hmm.
22 touchdowns and 13 interceptions with an average QB rating of 92.5.
All of which are really good for a rookie. I mean, considering that he was the 4th quarterback drafted and the 3 quarterbacks ahead of him are all questions. You have Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville, who's been awful. You have Zach Wilson with the Jets, who's just an absolute nightmare for the Jets. Like, he can't do anything right. And then Trey Lance, who is with the San Francisco 49ers, but Jimmy Garoppolo ran the show all year.
Yeah, and funny how Jimmy G seems to keep popping his head up. In San Francisco, it seemed like they thought Jimmy G was not the answer, and now here he is playing in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So maybe they changed their mind on Jimmy G. I mean, we thought maybe he should have been the quarterback who was kept by the Pats, and Brady should have been traded. And, the Pats ultimately traded Jimmy G. And he's had some issues with injuries, but he's hanging in there.
Yeah, he's been winning a lot of games, and, I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo, I mean, overall, would I have liked him in this game? Possibly more, yes, than Mac Jones, but I think I'd take Mac Jones' future over Jimmy Garoppolo right now. Like, Jimmy Garoppolo's future is much brighter than
Mac Jones's.
Mac Jones' future is much brighter than Jimmy Garoppolo. Sorry, I'm kind of flustered
Flustered
right now.
by what's happening, but I mean, I think Mac Jones has had he had a pretty good regular season. Putting this game aside and not even thinking about it.
Yeah. We're gonna go to our least favorite topic. Return of Tuukka Rask to the Bruins. Now, anyone who knows me knows I'm definitely not a Rask fan. You know, I constantly bring up his woes in the playoffs. I want to make sure people know that he's basically still human, because people keep saying that he's like the greatest of all time. How do you feel about Rask, Dad?
I like him. I think he's a great goalie, and I think he's not part of the problem for the Bruins, especially for $1 million for the season.
The $1 million is great for a great deal for him, because he's definitely worth $1 million if he can perform even remotely close to how he has been in the past. One of my biggest issues with him in the past was his contract was $7 million a year, which is, you know, definitely 7 times more than what he's currently being paid. But he's definitely worth the $1 million contract.
Well, the Bruins started the season with Swayman and Ullmark, okay? Which those two, neither one of them a proven goalie or any playoff experience. And to have Tuukka come back, and he's got loads of experience, and the game he came back on, unbelievable. Stopped 2 breakaways, had a good game, and they won. And with the way that the team is surging, this is actually ideal timing, getting him back.
Yep. And I also figured out that the Bruins have been near the bottom of the league for a long time in defensive spending. So that might be why he's not getting as many awards as he should be, since he only won the Vezina once and was only a 2-time All-Star. So the Bills just scored another touchdown. The game is surely out of reach now. Okay, so
But if we're talking about Tuukka,
yeah,
he has not had, and what keeps happening to the Bruins in the playoffs? Their defense gets exposed. They keep going into the playoffs with an unproven D pairs, and then they have breakdowns. So they need to add a top defenseman before the trade deadline to solidify that. They've got Tuukka. The offense has been great. The power play is coming back alive. Try to make this last run with Bergeron, because I truly believe this is his last year.
I think you hit the nail on the head with that one, because I think that was the start of the surge that they've been on. They've been winning a bunch of games in a row. Well, not quite in a row, but they've been winning quite a few games recently, and the fact that they're doing that might be because Bergeron told the team that this is his last year. If that is, he is probably one of the all-time greats for the Bruins, and will probably be in the Hall of Fame. Bergeron.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, Bergeron, I would love to see him get another cup.
Oh, for sure.
You know, and Tuukka too. Who knows how much time he's got left? He wouldn't mind being the guy and win a cup, and maybe
finally winning one.
Shut up some of these Tuukka haters out there.
Maybe. I mean, for sure, if he won a cup, I think I would be more on Team Tuukka, because the fact that he hasn't won a cup yet is borderline unacceptable for me. But they are spending way less than everyone else in defensive spending. Right now, they are 23rd in defensive spending this year. And I posed a question, can he make up for the mistakes in his past? But I think the real question is, can the Bruins do something for Tuukka Rask to make him better and possibly put him in a position to win a cup this year?
Yeah, because as we've seen in the last few playoff runs, there have been total team collapses.
Yeah, it hasn't been just Tuukka. It's been the defense, it's been the offense that have failed as well with Tuukka. So if they can just get some pieces and possibly break up the perfection line,
which has shown to be
That could be
actually
pretty good.
a good idea.
Yep.
Moving past to the second line.
All right. Hope you guys enjoy the podcast. This is Garbman, Raptor Lord, signing off.
Go Pats.